Your neighbors must love you.
Yeah, not so much.
Welcome back, YouTube fam, the Wackety Racing Channel, episode number 2, technically, of the Blitz build. Where we left off last time, Blitz gave it a little introduction. For those of you that haven't seen it, and even those of you that hadn't seen the last episode we did on Blitz, the introduction, there have been some changes. I've already taken the liberty to pull some of the parts off. Where we're sitting is radiator, fan pulled out, battery pulled out, started disconnecting wires and getting the motor ready to pull. Tonight we're looking at more than likely draining the rest of the fluids out of the motor and trans and getting final prep ready to pull that thing out. Through the rest of the weekend, really, we'll be working on this. I have a lot of parts coming in for this thing between tonight and the weekend. It is Christmas weekend, but FedEx is FedEx, so we'll see if they deliver. But what we do have, and what you guys will start to see, got the lightened flywheel for this thing from Flying Miata, as well as the Flying Miata Stage 1 clutch. Thing about this stock setup, it handles NA just fine, no issues, but as soon as you start putting boost to it, start burning the clutch. Clutch just can't handle it, so we're just going to go straight off the bat with this swap, Stage 1 clutch, so we don't have to worry about it. And then the only thing that's going to shred itself is the rear end, so shouldn't be a big deal. Until it becomes a big deal, cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, we'll get to working on this thing, keep you guys updated. Daniel's here to help for the night, for however long we decide to work, so let's get to it, huh? We're back, and well, we got a thing out, and we got a big old void now. Got a big old empty hole. So aside from me trying to blow everybody up and that thing being an a-hole, not wanting to come out, we're decent. How you doing, Daniel?
Hanging out.
Yeah. Good. So yeah, here's where we're sitting. Engine's out. Engine bay is wide open. We're gonna get this thing back on rollers so we can mobilize it again, collect parts, get stuff cleaned up, and then I've got about a day's worth of cleaning the engine compartment and getting stuff ready for a little Miata swap to go back into here.
Hey, real quick. Hey, Opel community, we know that it's easier to pull the motor out of the bottom.
Yeah.
And the cross member comes down and the motor mounts are on it and all that stuff. We don't want to, and we're not gonna.
Yeah.
We just cut the cross member because we're going to put a strut tower brace style brace in there anyways, because we want to be able to service the Miata engine by bringing it out of the top, because we don't have a lift, so pulling it out of the bottom is a real pain in the neck.
Not a thing.
So we went out the top on purpose because we want this motor to be serviceable enough that we can pull it out of the top at any given date.
Yeah, what he said. So
to make it a little easier in the long run, it's easier to just do it that way. But yeah, we know.
Yeah.
They go out the bottom.
Yeah. Well, suck it. Be back in a little bit. It is Christmas Day. Welcome back to the channel. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Happy New Year in a couple days if we don't see you, which we will. So, update. We didn't film any of it going in, but for the first swing in, she's sitting pretty.
It kind of went easier than it was supposed to.
It went way easier than I think it was supposed to.
Yeah, we figured we'd mock it up and then have to fight it a little bit, and then once we kind of knew what we were doing, grab the camera, but it kind of just went in.
Yeah, the original plan was to see how it was going to go and then grab the camera and then start rolling, and it just kind of slipped in place. So I slipped and fell onto a Miata motor. But it's not in its final resting place by any means, but it is close. It is sitting pretty. It is offset to the passenger side just a little bit, same way that little hunk of junk was before. It's just the way these engine bays are made, primarily because you have driver footwell, which has all of your wiring and controls on the inside, the brake booster arm, brake booster, so on and so forth.
Well, technically, if you're running solos, that offset will help.
Right, exactly. So she's kind of close to where she's going to be. Last night, we didn't get any footage of it, but last night we went through and started hacking off pieces and bits that I didn't want or that we didn't think we would need. radiator support here. Again, we got a lot of stuff we want to pack into that nose. Just random tabs here and there that we didn't feel that needed to be there. But she's home. She is home. And speaking of random things in the nose, there is an intercooler in there too. So got a lot of things in motion. We're trying things out. At the end of the day, this is not its final resting home again, so this will come out another 3 or 4 times, hopefully less.
It's going to end up coming out. We have to tack everything into place, figure out where everything's going to go, make the mounts, pull it back out, make sure that it's serviceable. Because if this motor ends up having something go catastrophically wrong while doing dyno tuning or during track work or whatever it's going to do, we need to be able to take it out and put it back. The whole point of using this motor was the fact that it was going to be serviceable, reliable, and easy to change. So if this motor were to ever give up, we could go ahead and swap it out for a JDM pallet motor, shove it right back in, and still maintain that same tune, or at least a rough rendition of the same tune. So without serviceability, this entire thing means nothing aside from a little bit more power. So we need to be able to make sure it comes back out, which is going to work out well because we're going to make up the engine mounts, pull it back out, clean everything up. We're going to paint the engine bay and everything when it goes back. So this won't be the last time it goes in. So we'll be sure to document it when it goes in and out again. But I mean, if it sat exactly where it's at right now, done. I mean, I'm happy with where it's sitting right now. We can work on getting the driveline angle and roll angle a little bit more accurate with a digital finder, but it's looking pretty freaking good.
Well, and the biggest concern that we had with placement of the motor was this footwell here, and I know a lot of Opel guys end up dishing this out a little bit and reworking that so that they can get their exhaust the way it needs to be, because it is extremely tight on this side. But where it sits now, I've got room for almost any exhaust manifold or header that's on the market now with a little bit of massaging.
Which leaves lots of room for turbo spoolie boy action in this vicinity.
Action. So, you know what? I have an idea. Should we give him a little peek?
You guys will like this.
Might go a little higher so to clear to come out of the hood a little bit.
Yeah, because we definitely want to pookie out the hood some. I mean, that was the whole plan.
Probably rake it a little bit so the intake comes out, but we can get the exhaust to go down.
Yes.
That way we're not.
That was the whole plan from the get-go, was to make this thing look aggressive. And there's nothing more aggressive than a little bit of a snail shell popping out of the hood. So we should have enough room in there to do whatever we need to do and have something shiny poking out the hood.
It might not run 10s, but it'll have a turbo out of the hood. Get a low shot back there, and then imagine what a hood on there is going to look like.
Yeah.
So something kind of like that.
Oh yeah, that's nasty.
I'm liking this.
I like it a lot. Especially, well...
And we got, comparatively to when we put one in my Triumph, we've got a lot more room in this than we did on the Triumph, actually.
Yeah, and then we have the mystery hood that's going to be a thing as well. So we'll see how that plays into things. It's going to be interesting.
2 hours later.
So, motor's hanging in frame. We have a jack under the transmission, under the tail shaft. We're trying to get the stock Opel crossmember that actually has the motor mounts mounted back into the car. The oil pan on this is a little too deep, so we're actually hitting oil pan. So we've mocked it up and kind of marked it out where we're actually going to go ahead and cut this center section out where it's hitting the pan.
And this is the stock engine.
This is stock engine crossmember with the motor mount, the Opel motor mounts. So we're going to cut the section out where it's hitting. We're going to bolt both sides back into place, and that'll give us a little bit of a reference to start going back at this thing with Miata motor mounts. Unfortunately, it is Christmas evening at whatever time it is tonight.
About 5:40.
Give or take about 6 o'clock. So getting those now, not going to happen. So it'll be a day or two before we can get those in hand. So we're just doing what we can to try to get this thing as mocked up as possible while we get those parts in hand and we can actually make some motion on this thing. It is the day after Christmas now. So as of last night, we got the motor hung, got it in place, got the jack under the transmission back there to kind of simulate where it's going to be. However, we are running into some small minor details that we're noticing. So in here, where the shifter sits is about right there. We're actually going to have to hog that trans tunnel out a little bit so the transmission can come up and be in its final resting place. And then we're looking at motor mounts, and can't really see it too well, but that's the OE Miata motor mount, and underneath that is the OE Opel engine brace and cross member. So when we gutted the Miata the first time, got all this stuff ripped out of it, we had a passenger side motor mount that was not wanting to work with us, so we cut it to pieces because we didn't care about it, didn't think we were going to need it. Turns out we need it. So we went this morning, found a gentleman that lives about 30 minutes away from me, got some new Miata motor mounts, new to me anyways. We're going to get those mocked up onto the side of the motor. We're going to try to get those cross member pieces back up in place. As I said, we did cut the center section out of it. Once we have this kind of mocked up and we know what we're looking at, we'll take everything back off the car, see how we can make it all work, see what needs to change, and then we'll start welding stuff together. Hopefully, we have motor sitting in place and stable today. End of day?
Oh, that's happening.
That's happening? Okay, 10-4. Cool. Well,
that's one of multiple check marks we need to hit today.
Yes.
Things get complicated, but ultimately what needs to happen today is the motor needs to be mounted, the transmission needs to be mounted, because everything after that is going to be
busy work.
Yeah, it's the small stuff.
Small stuff.
So that's we can't mock up anything else until those are locked in place. So we got to get the geometry right and make sure everything's our driveline angle's correct and that we're sitting in the chassis nice and square. But that's the bulk. So we got to get that done today.
Let's do it. We're getting started now about midday after all our running around this morning. We also did get some more goodies. As you can see here, we got the Mega Squirt, so we'll have that, and got the nice 1050 injectors from a local shop out of Corona, AED. He's actually the gentleman that's going to end up tuning this thing and getting it running the way it needs to be. So put this thing in time lapse and we'll give you guys some updates for the day as we continue to make progress. All right, stay tuned. So where we're sitting currently in the engine bay, we've got it kind of mocked up side to side where we want it, and now we've been working on the motor mounts. So I'll take you underneath. Dee's been hard at work under there, being Mr. Fabricator Man. We'll go under, give you guys a look.
All right, guys, we are back under the car. So what we have as it sits is the Miata motor mount, using the entire mount from motor side to the rubber to the actual bracket and the cup on the car side. And then we have the Opel GT subframe, which previously had the motor mounts and the motor mount towers. What we had to do for this, we obviously had to shorten it down, cut the towers off, and cut the angle to match the Miata motor mount. Then we also had to slot out these holes. Where it originally bolts through to the actual car itself. So initially this thing was angled, wanted to angle back towards the rear of the car, slotted the holes, and we were able to slide that forward and get it where it actually needs to be. A little bit of gap that we have here in the cut, not a big deal. We have some filler material and some strap material that's going to go in there to reinforce this, make it nice and tight. Other than that, been fairly simple for the most part. So we'll get all these pieces off, get them sandblasted, cleaned up, and ready to weld. And in the meantime, we'll start working on the other side and see you guys in a couple minutes.
What are we looking like, D?
So on the driver's side, this is the orientation that sits underneath the car, and we're going to end up in a similar circumstance to what we did on the passenger side. So our engine is actually going to end up sitting further back to get centered with the engine plates. So we're going to end up slotting this hole and slotting this hole so that it pivots from here, but we can maintain these holes. We ended up cutting the washer down and scooting that bolt as far close to this wall in this subframe bracket as we could. And then we cut this to match the angle of the Miata motor mount. Now on this side it's a little bit different. The frame is different on this side. And we're going to end up doing a relief cut here and bringing this section in because the arc of the frame is actually going to be sitting right on the corner of it. So we need to relieve this a little bit so that we can move it back into that position.
Been hard at work. You may or may not be able to tell, but it's pretty tight working up under there. So I think we got some things actually kind of figured out. What do you think, D? Where are we at, baby?
We're somewhere now.
Yeah.
So now we actually have a visual representation of what we were saying. This is not the final draft, and there's going to be a lot of cleanup and a lot of welding and a lot of filling in everything that's going to go across here. But this is the factory subframe for the Opel. We slotted the holes and then we cut it at the angle of the motor mount. This is the stock motor mount for the Miata. So here's your Mazda motor mount. On the driver's side it got really tight, so we trimmed it up around here so that we could get it up into place a little easier.
Right, with it being a V-shape mount itself, this one being super tight at the frame rail, it just pinches
when you have
bit.
a V like this, the bolts come out like this and they can't go down because of the length of the bolts.
Right.
So you have to kind of do a thing. So most Miatas you got to pull one motor mount or the other to get it to swing. So the same thing here, but cutting this is going to make that easier. On this side, obviously we tacked a bolt in there to make up for the space here, so that everything stays in place while I make a filler panel for this. But it's the same deal on this side as this side. This is the angle the motor mount sits at. We've slotted the holes, and this is the stock subframe from the Opel. This is the stock cup plate from the motor mount on the Miata. Now the thing that's been added is we took this big heavy bar that I had lying around and tacked it into place to make a new section of the cross member here. It's going to add rigidity across the bottom of the motor. It's going to tie the two sides of the frame rail. It's a unibody, it doesn't have a frame rail, but the frame rail into place. It's also going to be counting as our skid plate. So this is some really thick wall material, and it's going to be hanging down slightly below where the pan is, so that when you hit speed bumps and inevitably this thing hits, it's not tearing the pan all to snot, because it hangs extremely low compared to everything else on the bottom of this car. It's close to where the center line of the wheel is, so hopefully he'll be able to roll over things without hitting it, but I don't think so. This is going to get welded in all these spots, and then I'm going to take bracing bars. I'm going to go from the bottom of the motor mount to the bar, just to add even more structure to everything like this. And it should end up pretty freaking sweet when we're done. So there's a lot left to do and a lot of little parts to fab up to make this really work, but we have something solid. So we can kind of move on from there.
Got a little update for you, D. Talk to me, baby. Where are we sitting?
So here it is. This is the final welded product prior to installation. Additionally, we added a couple of bars here just to give it a little bit more stability, make it all stronger, and to make it so that if he does hit something with the bar instead of the pan and it forces its way up, it distributes a little bit of that force across everything instead of just here on the ends where it's a little thinner. So this is it. So we're gonna go ahead and get underneath there and try to install it.
Yep, one shot. Let's do this. And we're back. Last little update for the night. What do you think, D? Pretty happy with where she's sitting?
I'm liking it.
Yeah?
We're nice and even. Everything's looking pretty good. We got our offset nice, our transtunnel nice and straight. So we can drop it into place and then set our driveline angle off of that.
Perfect. So why don't we go ahead and pull that picker down? Oh yeah. Settle down nice.
That's real deal.
She's home.
That's home right there. We pull our cherry picker out. We can actually clean up tonight.
Yep.
That's it. That's motor. That's in place.
Give her a little shakedown.
She's not.
Yeah, I'd say it's solid. Give you a little insight of where we're sitting. Got room over here on the exhaust manifold. Got plenty of room up front still. And we've got daylight through there, so
And show them what we got going on
we're
there.
pretty golden. Oh yeah, show the fun part. So you guys, did we show them the spoolie boy?
We did. I think we did.
I think we did show them the
previous
spoolie
number.
boy, but this is a 49 state federal legal stock exhaust manifold for an NB Miata. Plan here is to reflange it. We'll flip it upside down, flip it 180, and we're actually going to have the exhaust coming out the top.
Something like that.
Kind of like Chonder. And then we'll have Spoolie Boy. We'll have all kinds of piping and fun. Yeah, so plenty to work on still, but all in all, I think we're sitting pretty. We made a hell of a lot of progress today with that motor mount. If you guys got any questions on that, feel free to ask. More than happy to give you any details we can on that. But for now, I think
that's it for the night.
yeah.
We're going to be hitting it all week, so this is going to go a lot faster than some of the other projects on the channel on account of we're dedicating a bit more time to it, a bit more of a collaborative effort to make sure that we're getting through it a little bit quicker. So for tonight, I think that's it.
Wagadoo out.
Out.